Hello everyone, and I want to welcome everyone who's here, to those who are watching, those who will watch later in the week. Welcome to the Church of Christ Consciousness. I'm going to continue with what we were discussing last week, which is leaving religion for spirituality. But before I get started and really get into it, I want everyone to do me a favor. So if you're watching later in the week, or you're here right now, I want you to take a moment. Calm yourself, relax, take a deep breath. Because what I'm about to talk about may trigger a few people. All right? And just remember, if you get triggered, just breathe through it. All right? Just breathe. It'll be okay. All right? So leaving religion for spirituality. But the topic really is the journey from outside in. All right? So recall that religion tells us to seek God out there, that God is always outside, right? And that's not the case. For did Jesus not tell us that the kingdom of heaven is within? He told us that the kingdom of heaven is within. Then in the Gospel of Thomas, he says, if you seek for the kingdom in the sky, well, the birds have reached heaven before you have. He also said, if you look to the sea, the fishes are already there, and you're still not there. But religion teaches us that heaven is in some distant future, after you have met all of the prerequisites. Maybe you'll get to heaven. Spirituality is completely different. It tells us that heaven is already within us. It's there right now, which, by the way, is the only moment that there is. Religion tells us that we have to earn love. We have to earn our worth. Spirituality says you're already worthy. You're already loved. You just don't remember it. So religion is about working for it, seeking for it, trying to earn whatever it is. And spirituality is nothing but a remembrance. It's an awakening to the truth that has always been true, which is already within each one of us. We do not have to earn any of it. It was given to us. And the good news is we cannot lose it. For what God gives is ours eternally. We cannot lose it. Now, can we deny it? Oh, have we? We're really good at denying, guys. I mean, we're kings of denial. Some of us queens, right? But you get the point. You get the point. We're really good at denying. So, I have created a series called Leaving Religion for Spirituality and Enlightenment. There's a book, and then there is a series of mini ebooks that expands on the sections within the book. And at the end, I will tell you, if you're interested, give you some steps to follow to if you want to acquire the books, get your hands on a copy of it, right? But I'm going to ask Miss Penny to come read something for me. It isn't long, and I just want to say this. This is my story, my journey from outside in. Remember, I'm blind, so I would love to be able to read it to you, I did write it. Miss Penny helps me edit it. I have wonderful friends who helped me get it published. And I just want you to listen. If you resonate with some of it, wonderful. If you don't, that's okay, because each of our journeys are different. They're unique. They're our journey. It belongs to us. But there's still a common theme. There is still a common theme within it. And I hope that that's what you hear.
Religion versus spirituality. The journey from outside in. The forward. This book is a gentle invitation not to argue or convert, but to remember to awaken, to feel what you've always known deep down, that truth lives within you, not outside of you. My journey has taken me from following rules written in ancient books to following still, quiet voice within. This voice is a reflection of that path, from outside in. If you've ever felt restless in religion or hungry for something deeper, this is for you. We each have our own path, and our paths may be different, but the journey is the same. It's the one where we stop looking outside ourselves and begin looking within. I hope that some who read this can relate. If you can't, that's okay. The sharing of my journey within is simply meant to help inspire you along the path that is right for you. My story is one where my heart opened. May you experience your heart opening in the spaciousness that lies within. With peace and joy, Eddie Lee. Introduction, The Restless Heart. There was a time I thought I had to earn God's love. People's love, my own love. Religion taught me to look up and out for salvation, for direction, and for worth. But something never felt quite right. Beneath the rituals, beneath the memorized prayers and sermons, a question stirred. Is this all there is? This book traces the journey that question led me on, from the outer framework of religion to the inner knowing of spirituality. It's not about abandoning belief, but it's about awakening to something deeper. I hope these words remind you of your own truth. Chapter 1, The God Outside, Sunday Morning Masks. Sunday mornings always felt like a performance. We wore our best clothes, practiced our smiles, and pretended we were more holy than human. I remember sitting in the pew surrounded by hymns and halos, but feeling a strange emptiness inside. Everyone else seemed to get it. They raised their hands, they cried during worship, and they shouted amen when the preacher hit a high note. But me, I just sat there wondering why I felt like a stranger in my own skin. I didn't know at the time, but I was playing a role in a story that wasn't mine. I wanted to be good, I wanted to be loved, and I thought this was how you earned it. So I smiled when I was sad, I repented for questions I wasn't supposed to have. I wore the mask so well that even I started to forget what was underneath. Pleasing the Sky Father. I imagined God as a distant king, watching from above, keeping score, writing my name in the book of life, unless I messed up, of course, then he might blot it out. This God loved me, I was told, but the love came with terms and conditions. Believe the right things, say the right words, be on the right side of theology, or else. So I became a spiritual overachiever. I memorized verses, I fasted, I led Bible studies. I told myself this was devotion, but deep down it was desperation. I just wanted to feel safe. I wanted to believe I was okay. But no matter how much I did, it never felt like enough. I was chasing an approval I already had, but couldn't recognize, because I was looking for it in the sky, not in my soul. The fear of getting it wrong. There was always fear, quietly humming beneath the surface. Fear of backsliding, fear of missing the rapture, fear of hell, fear that one wrong step would separate me from God forever. I didn't call it fear back then, I called it reverence. But it wasn't holy, it was haunting. I remember lying awake at night, rehearsing my salvation prayer just in case I didn't say it right earlier the first time. I confessed sins I wasn't sure I committed, just to cover up my bases. There was no peace in that, only paranoia and a deep terror dressed up in religious language. The God I was taught to love kept me walking on eggshells, and that's not love, that's spiritual anxiety. My moment of collapse. There wasn't one big moment when everything shattered. It was more like a slow unraveling, a quiet grief, a weariness that settled throughout the core of my being. I was tired of pretending that what I believed was the truth, the way it was. It no longer made sense. I could not buy it any longer. Then one day, I just stopped pretending. I couldn't fake the joy anymore. I couldn't shout amen to things that didn't resonate. I couldn't keep trying to be the person religion told me to be. I sat in my room with all my questions laid bare, and for the first time, I didn't try to silence them. I let them breathe. I let myself breathe. It was terrifying and freeing all at once. I didn't know what I believed anymore, but I knew I couldn't go back. The performance was over, and maybe, just maybe, the real journey was finally beginning. The closing reflection. This chapter of my life was marked by effort, so much effort, trying to be enough, trying to be holy, trying to please an outside God that I could never quite reach. But when I stopped trying, I started hearing something deeper, a whisper from within, a love not based on conditions or creeds, but on being, just being. Leaving the God inside was not an act of rebellion, it was an act of return to my own soul. Cracks in the foundation. Questions I wasn't supposed to ask. I used to believe questions were dangerous, not the small ones, like what the Bible meant by a certain verse or how to pray more effectively. No, it was the big questions that made people nervous, the kind that sit heavy in your chest, the kind you only ask in whispers, if at all. Why would a loving God create hell? Why are people outside our faith condemned? Why does church feel more like control than compassion? Why does my spirit feel more alive in solitude than in sermons? I had these questions, but I tucked them away like forbidden fruit. I was afraid of what they might lead to. I was afraid of what they might reveal. But they wouldn't stay quiet. They came knocking in the night. They echoed through sermons and songs, and eventually they demanded to be heard. Doubt is a holy doorway. There came a moment when I stopped resisting the questions and started walking through them. What I thought was doubt turned out to be a doorway, not to destruction, but to a deeper understanding. Doubt didn't kill my faith, it refined it. I realized that truth doesn't fear being questioned. Real love doesn't flinch when you wrestle with it. I started to see that my need for certainty had become a cage. Religion had taught me to cling to answers. Spirituality invited me to sit in mystery. And the moment I let go of needing to know, I started to feel something real, something alive, something true. My quiet rebellion. I didn't leave the church in a blaze of rage or defiance. It was quieter than that, a slow inner rebellion. I began to skip certain services. I stopped repeating creeds that didn't resonate. I let go of the guilt for not fitting in the mold. It was terrifying at first. I felt alone, like I was walking off the edge of a cliff. But the more I trusted my inner compass, the more I realized I wasn't alone at all. There were others who were also waking up, others who had dared to look within and find something sacred there. We weren't rebels, we were remembering. When faith felt like a lie. There was one Sunday when I sat in the pew and realized I couldn't do it anymore. The sermon was polished, the worship was moving, but I felt like a ghost in the room. I looked around and saw sincerity, but I also saw fear. People trying so hard to hold it together, and it hit me. This isn't faith. It's fear dressed up in devotion. I walked out of that church and didn't go back. Not because I was angry, but because I needed to find something real. Something that didn't require me to shrink or pretend or to abandon my own knowing. Closing reflection. The foundation didn't collapse all at once. It cracked slowly, quietly, through questions and whispers and tears behind closed doors. But in those cracks, light began to shine through. What I thought was the end of my faith turned out to be the beginning of my truth. I didn't lose God. I just stopped looking for God in places I was told to. And in doing so, I began to discover something far more beautiful than certainty. Presence. The turn inward, the first taste of silence. It happened on an ordinary day. No choir, no preacher, no flashing lights, just me, sitting alone, tired of trying to figure everything out. I turned off the noise. No worship music, no radio, no open Bible, just silence. And in that silence, something stirred. Not words, not doctrine, just presence. It was quiet, gentle, nothing I could explain, but it felt like the first real thing in a long time. I wasn't trying to reach God anymore. I was just being, and that was enough. Learning to listen within. At first, it felt strange. I listened inward instead of reaching outward. For so long, I had been trained to follow spiritual authorities, pastors, books, prophets, anything but my own intuition. But I started to notice something. Every time I sat still, every time I turned inward with honesty and openness, I felt peace. Not because I was thinking the right thoughts, but because I was finally listening to me. I began to realize that the voice I had been trained to ignore, my own inner voice, wasn't leading me away from the divine. It was the divine. Spirit wasn't some distant entity watching from the heavens. Spirit was here, in my breath, in my body, in my awareness. Letting go of the need to be right. I had spent so much of my religious life needing to be right. The right theology, the right interpretation, the right lifestyle, the right beliefs. But as I turned inward, I saw how exhausting that was, how small, how divisive. What if life wasn't about being right, but being real? What if spiritual growth wasn't about collecting answers, but living the questions with love and humility? I gave myself permission to not know, to let go of the labels and the rigid lines. And in that space, I found room to breathe. I found space for others too, for people who believe differently, live differently, and who walked a path unlike mine. I no longer needed to be right. I just needed to be true. Spirit over system. Religion gave me a system, a framework, a checklist, but spirit gave me freedom. I started to notice spirit in the simple things, the sunrise, laughter, a long exhale, a deep conversation that left me wide open. These weren't just random moments, they were sacred. I realized I didn't need a temple or a title to feel close to the divine. I didn't need to recite the right prayers or follow the right path. I was already walking the path. It began the moment I turned inward. And the more I walked it, the more I realized I was never actually lost, was just looking in the wrong places. Closing reflection. Turning inward wasn't a rejection of God. It was an embrace of the part of me that had always been connected, always been whole. I stopped chasing and started receiving. I stopped striving and started being. And in the stillness of my own soul, I met something holy, something wordless, something true. I met me. And I discovered that I was never alone and never had been. Meeting the divine within, the temple of the heart. I used to think sacred places were out there, churches, cathedrals, temples, places built with stone and stained glass, but nothing prepared me for the moment I realized the most sacred place I would ever enter was my own heart. It didn't happen in one epiphany. It happened slowly over time, like the sun rising and lighting everything up. I had forgotten just how beautiful it was. The world was beautiful. How had I missed so much? The answer hit me hard. My heart was closed. It was dead. But now it stirred with life, with joy, with awe, an awe I had never truly experienced. I began to feel in moments of stillness, in tears that came from nowhere, in sudden waves of gratitude while washing dishes or watching the wind move through trees. There was no altar, no choir, no incense, just this quiet knowing I am not separate, and I never was. From worship to oneness, worship had always meant lifting my hands to something higher, bowing to something greater, admitting my smallness in the face of God's vastness. But the more I turned inward, the more that dynamic began to dissolve. I wasn't reaching up anymore. I was turning in. And what I found wasn't a far-off deity, but a presence so intimately close it felt like breath. The lines blurred. There was no me here and God out there, just awareness, just being, just love. This wasn't worship as I had known it. It was oneness, a holy merging, a returning to the original connection that had never actually been broken. Love without conditions. I had been taught that love, divine love, was unconditional, but the fine print always told a different story. Unconditional as long as you believe the right things, unconditional unless you sin too much, unconditional with a hidden list of conditions. But the love I met within didn't look like that at all. It didn't ask for my theology. It didn't demand my perfection. It didn't come with warnings or shame. It simply was. Warm, gentle, fierce, and free. And for the first time, I felt safe in it. No need to earn, prove, or perform. Just to receive. Just to rest. The day I knew I was already enough. There was one moment that changed everything. I was sitting in silence, no agenda, no script, just breathing. And then this wave of presence washed over me, not from above, but from within, a sense of being held, known, and loved. I heard, not abruptly, but deeply and unmistakably, you don't have to try so hard. You are already enough. I wept not because I was broken, but because I had finally remembered. All those years of striving melted into one sweet moment of surrender. I didn't need fixing. I needed seeing. And I had finally seen myself through the eyes of something eternal. Closing reflection. Meeting the divine within wasn't some grand mystical event. It was simple, quiet, and yet it changed everything. I no longer had to seek approval from above. I no longer had to fear rejection from the heavens. I had found the sacred within the most unexpected place, myself. Living from the inside out. Everyday mysticism. I used to think spirituality had to be dramatic, angelic visions, prophetic words, and thunder on mountaintops. But what I've discovered is this: the most mystical moments are often the quietest. A deep breath that softens your chest. The way sunlight hits your skin and feels like a blessing. The pause before answering when you choose to love instead of defense. These moments aren't loud, but they are sacred. I used to chase miracles. Now I see them everywhere. In the mundane, in the ordinary, in the most common parts of life. Spirituality in the mundane. I find God when I wash the dishes, not in the act itself, but in the awareness I bring to it, in the warmth of the water, in the clicking of the plates, in the rhythm of being fully present. Spirituality isn't something I visit on Sundays anymore. It's how I move through the world. I've learned that presence is prayer. Kindness is worship. A slow, honest conversation is communion. I don't need rituals to remember the sacred. I just need to remember. No more sacred versus secular. Religion taught me to divide my life into sacred and secular. Worship music was holy, pop music was worldly. Church work was spiritual, other work was just work. Spiritual language was good, regular talk was just fluff. But now, there's no division. Everything is spiritual when I am present in it. Making a sandwich for someone I love is holy. Laughing until my sides hurt is holy. Saying I'm sorry and really meaning it, that's holy too. I no longer try to separate spirit from life. I let spirit saturate life. And that has brought me more peace than any sermon ever could. How I walk now. I don't have all the answers. I don't need them anymore. I walk slowly now. I listen more. I speak from the heart. Even when my voice shakes, I don't chase perfection. I chase authenticity. I don't seek approval. I live in alignment. I don't perform for the divine. I partner with it moment by moment. There's still pain. There are still days of doubt, but I no longer feel them. I meet them with tenderness, knowing the light is still there within. This path isn't always easy, but it's mine, and every step I take from the inside out feels like coming home. The closing reflection. Living from the inside out means I no longer outsource my truth. I no longer wait for someone to tell me what is sacred. I feel it. I know it. I am it. The journey from religion to spirituality wasn't a rejection. It was a return to trust, to presence, to the divine already living in me. And now I walk forward, not with certainty, but with wholeness, not with fear, but with freedom. Final thoughts. Coming home to yourself. This was never about throwing anything away. It was about finding what always was true underneath the layers. Religion gave me a map, but at some point I had to put it down and walk by heart. Spirituality invited me to do just that, to step off the well-worn path, to listen inward, to trust my own soul's knowing. And in doing so, I didn't become lost. I became found in my breath, found in the stillness, found in the quiet moments where the divine whispers, "You're already home." If there's one thing I hope this little book has reminded you of, it's this. You don't have to keep searching for what's already within you. You don't have to earn what's already yours from the beginning. You don't have to be anyone else to be worthy of love, belonging, and divine connection. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are sacred. Your path is sacred, and your journey, this beautiful, winding, honest journey from the outside honest journey from the inside out, is holy. Welcome home.
Thank you, Penny. Guys, some may call that arrogant, and I'm okay with it. Do you know what I have discovered in spirituality? Arrogance is me telling God who I am, rather than me surrendering to what I am, a creation in the likeness that He is. Found in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Which means if it's in both, it must be kind of important. There's not much found in the Old Testament and New Testament that's word for word. Jesus actually quoted in the New Testament when He was saying something. He quoted it from the Psalms. Do y'all not know you're gods? Do you not know? And then He said, what is written by the prophets must be true. Jesus didn't ask us to deify Him. He asked us to call Him brother, friend. All He asked us to do was follow Him. He laid out before us a path. As I've learned, it's not an easy path. I have days, some days that are littered with more heartache, pain, and other days that are just, all I can say is wow. But before I made and took the opportunity to turn within, all of my days were kind of miserable. I knew there had to be more. I think many of you know there has to be more. This is it. If this is it, let me tell you what my mentor told me. If this is it, we're all screwed. We are. If this is it, if this is all there is, why did we sign up for it? Because we're not victims. We are responsible. But I'll tell you why we signed up for it. You will never find it in religion. You can only find it within you. We signed up to be that which God created. Because somewhere or another along the way we doubted it. We doubted the very thing that was God's gift to us. We didn't believe it. So we signed up for a school called Earth, a training ground to discover who and what we are, to live it, and to share it, not to proselytize, not to try to convert anyone, just live it. And the more you clean up within yourself, the more light that radiates from you. Jesus said we are the light. We are the lighthouses. And as I have said before, what does a lighthouse do? It just stands quietly, shines the light into the darkness of night, so that the ships that are out at sea can find safety to port in the darkness. So if we're standing, living the truth that we are, then we are a lighthouse, shining our light into the darkness so that our brothers and sisters, their ships can come home. That's all. That's service. That's joy. That's peace. And it's all within us. Every bit of it is within us. We do not have to work for it. Did you hear that? We don't have to work for it. We don't have to earn it. You don't have to be good enough. You don't have to be perfect. You already are. You're already good enough. You're already whole. You just don't believe it. Spirituality isn't about belief. That's religion. Religion will tell you what to believe. Spirituality says, wake up. It's time to remember and be what you already are. That's the difference. And I know that there are a lot of people out there. They're afraid. Look around you. Listen to what's going on in the world. It seems to be coming and getting more fearful by the day. You don't have to fall prey to the fear, because all of the love that you can imagine, and you can't even imagine 1/10 of the love that is within each one of us. It's infinite, it's eternal, it's boundless. It's yours because it's you. And that love will get us through. And I'd like to close with this. Quantum physics. The greatest science that we can imagine. Try reading a little bit of it. It's really quite cool. You can find some, Google it. That's very easy to read. They've written it for the lay person. And do you know what quantum physicists have discovered? What the mystics, what Jesus was telling us so many thousands of years ago. Everything's connected. Everything is one. In quantum physics, we have now learned everything's connected. There really is only one. It looks to be in parts. That's the illusion. It's the illusion that we have made real. But it isn't. It isn't the truth. What is true is the love that binds all of it. And one of my favorite movies, Interstellar, is, I think, my favorite quote of any movie. The female, the daughter of the physicist who was trying to save humanity by getting them off the world to some other foreign world, another planet, because this one was dying. And she was trying to explain to Matthew McConaughey, his character, about time dilation, time slippage because of gravity that was coming from the black hole. They needed a solution to an answer, or an answer to a question that at the time there was no answer. And she was just positing something. And here it is. She says, I've come to believe that there are only two things that are interdimensional, that can move between the boundaries of dimensions. Those two things are love and gravity. Love is interdimensional. You are love. Therefore, you are interdimensional. For you are in heaven and on earth. They can't be separated because you are an interdimensional being, because you are love. Just as God is in all places at all times, so are you. Did he not make us in his image and likeness? Of course he did. Religion tells us that, but they don't teach us how to live that. Spirituality, if you will turn within, will guide you to that. And I will truly close now with this. You have always been the teacher that you were looking for, not the ego. Let the ego resign. It can't teach you anything but fear and illusion. But the self that is within you, the real self, the true self, has quietly been waiting to share you with you, the truth of what you are, the truth of what you've always been. So go this week. Turn within, take that chance, and discover who and what you are. It will blow your mind. And as it says in one of the Gnostic Gospels, it will scare the hell out of you at first, and then it will awe you, and then you will rule the heavens, for you will finally master yourself. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to those who will watch later in the week. If you found something in this, help us with the algorithm. Hit the like button. Share the video. And if you would like to know more about it, I ask you to go to our webpage, which is rtofoundation.org. When it comes up, just put your name and your email address in it, and we'll let you know the moment that the series is released. Because my goal is this: to share the freedom that comes from being spiritual, not religious. The love for God that is already within you. You don't have to be told how to love, what to do. It's already there. already there. So I hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy yourself, and see you next Sunday for more. Thank you.